dear. What can I say? A bit of controversy, I suppose. The BAFTAs. I'm a BAFTA member. And so it's grateful to get all the screeners and then get online screenings so you can see all the films before you vote for them. And this year again, controversy, which I think is quite sickening, is the fact there are absolutely nobody who's non-white that's nominated. And there's a reason for this, and it's systemic in the sense that if you look at who's voting and who's running BAFTA, you can understand why. And I'm not saying BAFTA have got bad people in it. We have a system at BAFTA now where it's still run by the same two people who are just out to do... I remember, Christ, back in the middle noughties, Amanda Berry, who's still there running it all, saying, wow, we got 11 award shows now. And I thought, it's an academy. It's meant to be getting out there and helping ways to help filmmakers. And it does in many ways. And there's loads of photos of her running around being seen, photographed with somebody famous and big A-list stars. And you think, it's not about that. It's about filmmaking. And that's what the British were always good at, being honest and true and about supporting great filmmaking. Now, the reason I don't think there are any non-white performers or anything with it, you get your screener, and I've told you about some of the films I've absolutely adored, like Just Mercy. And often you've got middle-aged men and women who are white who don't really watch films with coloured people in them. And I say coloured because I meant it in that way. They don't watch, if it's got a black person, they always used to say if you had a film with black people in it, 60% your audience is gone. And I just think, Christ, that's a dreadful thing to say. And I truly believe that so many people on the BAFTA voters, like all of us, don't actually sit down and watch all the films. And that's where it is. And if you've got a film like Waves, which is absolutely wonderful, deserves a nod for something, then it's not going to go anywhere if it doesn't get seen. And you realise that now BAFTA, the films and the TV awards, they're huge TV money-making machines. So if we start offering lesser-known, unknown, celebrities awards, then the TV's going to go, well, no one's going to watch it. We need Brad Pitt. We need this person to be in it, or we need the big stars to come for us to pay you £2 million for the TV rights. And that's what it's all about. And I think a lot of award ceremonies now, even the Oscars. I said last year when The Favourite did so well and Olivia Colman won, I was just absolutely gobsmacked. But then I looked and I'd seen in the run-up to the Oscars, page after page after page in the press was The Favourite and her performance was amazing. And they literally advertised to buy the bloody award. And she won it because everyone was going, oh yeah, The Favourite, The Favourite, The Favourite. All they could think of. Nobody went back and went, well, Glenn Close in The Wife. Whew, that was an acting masterpiece, but she didn't win. And although I think Olivia Colman's a fabulous actor and a wonderful woman, I think that's what it's all about now. I think major companies like Sony and that make their films. They've got huge budgets for PR. And then they have screenings and Q&As with the stars and all of the Blue Rinse Brigade at the BAFTAs and places like the Oscars or whatever. All rush out, oh yeah. And I always used to laugh and said, I always thought Clint Eastwood would always do well, although Richard Jewell this year was not a great film by his standards. He always does well because he's in his 80s now, and so there's a lot of old boys that are in the Academy and a lot of old boys in BAFTA think, well, he's the same age as me, and he's vindicating them as still as filmmakers, although they're not making anything. And I think that's the problem. I think the problem is if BAFTA wants to be the Academy and BAFTA wants to do more to promote sort of non-white performances, films, so that major stream people see them, especially their members, then they need to do more. And to do more, we have to lose the people that are now the committee that are now running BAFTA. I think it's time for new blood. It's desperately in need of new blood. And I think the best thing to do was take out those at the top of the committee, get in new blood, as I say, and then when it comes round to the Oscars, then organise with the filmmakers and the smaller studios that can't afford to have a massive complex 2,000-seater theatre and all the stars turn up, can't afford it. Offer them the Princess Anne Theatre, which takes 300 people, and have the stars come, and then start saying we're going to do 3 or 4 screenings. They do some screenings, I'll give them that. And sometimes they have little hotels which see 80, so they can't get everyone to see it. And so if they did more to proactively make sure that people could see Dark Waters even, which is not a black film, or they could see Bombshell, or they get to see It Was Just Another Good Vehicle, or they get to see, I'm just thinking off the top of my head again, things like Waves, then I think it will make a difference. Just Mercy, Harriet, and a group of other sort of really good films that just don't get seen because they don't appeal to the BAFTA member. We've got to get a better influx. We've got to find a better system. And I always find it very dubious when you get some huge star that's, been good, it was good, but suddenly it's like tipped for a BAFTA. I often used to think, well, maybe it's just to help with the TV viewing figures. I do think it's becoming down to that, and if I get kicked out or they don't want me anymore, then that's my lookout. But I've got to be honest, I think there have been some performances where people definitely needed a nod, and there have been some performances, and there's people that are actually nominated. But I quick looked at some of the things I did just now, which I cannot believe. It's just like, if we go through some of the things that have gone through, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you're just doing it for the stars. And again, it's just, there's so many films here which I thought were good, but some of the performers, I have no idea where they've taken a spot. I really don't. I just think there are some wonderful people who could have been truly and utterly said, well done, pat on the back. But BAFTA didn't do it. And until we change BAFTA for the better, it never will. So we're going to keep having this situation. And so if I start a movement to get me kicked out, then I do. You've just got to be honest with yourselves, everybody. When you've got a load of Blue Rinse Brigade people sat there going, you can go even to a screening at BAFTA and people say, any questions? And they say, yes, I thought her hair was wonderful. You suddenly realise that it's not always going to be the best of the best. So everybody who didn't get a nod, especially those guys, as I say, in some of the films I've mentioned before, I just want to say that I hope you realise that your work was as wonderful as it was. And it doesn't matter. The gongs don't matter anymore. Only to the big studios as a budgeting thing. So, there you have it from me, BAFTA member Andy, saying, let's get rid of the executive committee that we've got. They're just spending fortunes now making us a charity, which we're not anymore. Trying to turn the club into some incredible events place which they can just rent it out for more money. And however much they say they're doing wonderful things for new young filmmakers, we've got to change. Otherwise, the new young filmmakers are just going to be more young white privileged kids. And I think that's going to be detrimental to filmmaking across the world. When you see things like Parasite and The Farewell in foreign countries, producing films and presenting them, which are just not governed by any sort of like rigid sort of, this is the way we do it, because they've not been influenced so much by the American films and the studio system. I think actually you realise that you start tapping into a much better film, a body of work that really needs recognition. So hopefully next year BAFTA can do better, because they let themselves down and the controversy is really worth what it is. It's a disgrace. Just my penny's worth. If you disagree or agree, subscribe. Just putting it out there. Big love to everybody. Go and see the films. Just go and support filmmaking. It makes a lot of money for the country, and it makes us all feel good at the end of the day. Thanks. The arts are something that we have. These politicians will never understand. And so support the arts. Support BAFTA by making them better and telling them they've got to be better. I'm just rambling. So, good night, everybody. It's been wonderful. This is Andy. Over and out. And if you want to subscribe and have a look at some of the reviews I've done, if you disagree, disagree. If you don't, you don't. I'm not here to sort of try and make you love me. I'm just doing it because I think I'd like to say what I thought.